Well, voters and candidates in Western Australia are preparing to head back to the polls after this week's ruling by the High Court declaring the Senate election void. A date for the new poll hasn't been set yet, but all 6 Senate positions will be up for grabs. The High Court made its decision after it was revealed more than 1,300 ballot papers had gone missing. The Parliamentary Committee examining the election is pushing ahead with its inquiry into what went wrong. The committee's chair, Tony Smith, joined me from Melbourne a short time ago. Tony, you've referred to this whole episode as an extraordinary debacle. Is a fresh election the best result?
Well, look, there's been 5 months of uncertainty and the High Court's had to grapple with that. The election's now on, but it has been an extraordinary debacle. This is the greatest failure in the AEC's history, and they admitted as much at our first hearing that we had just a few weeks ago. So it's quite right and proper that the committee's investigating how this occurred so that we can seek to prevent similar failures into the future.
Now on that, you're going to continue your investigation while in effect there's an election campaign underway now for the Senate in WA. How will you continue to do that investigation during this time?
What we will do is continue our investigations, but in a way that doesn't hinder the West Australian election. So we're going to proceed with our hearings in Canberra with Mick Kelty, who conducted the report into the lost votes, with the head of the Electoral Commission, Ed Killerstein. We won't conduct public hearings in Western Australia during the campaign period. But once the campaign's over, of course, we'll have public hearings and site visits. I should add that having these hearings in early March with the head of the Electoral Commission will provide an opportunity for West Australian voters to get a public assurance that all of the relevant recommendations have been implemented before they go to the polls.
So on that, you're having the Electoral Commissioner give evidence before the inquiry, as you mentioned. Do you think he should take responsibility for what's gone wrong here?
Well, look, we're in the middle of the inquiry and we haven't heard from him yet, so I do want to hear from him. There's no doubt this has been an extraordinary debacle. As I said yesterday, there was a cavalcade of failures by the AEC. The Kelty report really did reveal a smorgasbord of failures
so
right through the system. So does the buck stop
with the Commissioner then?
It'd be unfair of me to answer that without hearing from him, without the committee looking at this thoroughly. We need to hear from the head of the Electoral Commission. We're going to need to hear from other members of the Electoral Commission at appropriate times before we make some calm and considered findings and recommendations.
Now, you've also said that the committee will be using this rerun election to examine the tighter security measures relating to ballot papers. So you're planning to go over to Western Australia and watch the counting? Is that what you're talking about?
As soon as we think it's practical, the committee will be over in Western Australia, consistent with us not hindering the election. We want the AEC officials in Western Australia to concentrate on their critical task during this new election. But ballot security and a whole range of other issues were major problems, and that's what led to this catastrophe over in Western Australia. So the Electoral Commission has said they've accepted the recommendations of the Kelty report. We want to take the opportunity at the right time to have a look at how they've been implemented.
Tony Smith, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
That's Tony Smith there, and we'll all be watching to see how that election in WA pans out and what voters make of having to return to the polls again so soon. But